Streaming on clickorlando.com, you're watching News 6 at 10.
And right now on News 6, a crucial countdown underway at the Kennedy Space Center. How it could clear the way to send astronauts to the moon in just weeks. And right now in News 6, another developing story. A little girl is dead and an adult is in custody. Deputies are vowing to get justice, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions that we are pressing for tonight. And just in a big setback for a local man who admits stabbing an off-duty deputy. He claimed he was standing his ground while a judge just threw out that defense. But first, we start tonight with the biggest of several breaking stories. We have a shooting inside of a busy Walmart supercenter. Good evening, I'm Troy Campbell. Now, Osceola County deputies say this all unfolded at the supercenter on the Cypress Parkway in Point Siena. Now, right near the Point Siena Town Center. They were called there just after 8 o'clock tonight. Now, News 6's Mike Valenti, he is just arriving there, and we have him live on the scene there. Mike, you just hustled all the way over there. What are you seeing?
Yeah, Troy, I can tell you what we're seeing. Just one sheriff's deputy vehicle. This is the parking lot of the Publix across the street from the Walmart. This is the media staging area. We can't get any closer. My photographer's on his way, but because of the unfolding situation that law enforcement is dealing with, there is a traffic backup. So we're doing this live shot on my phone right now, getting ready to hear from deputies, hopefully within the next hour, and then we can have a more full-fleshed report for you. But what we know, according to authorities, the Osceola County Sheriff's Office, is that there was a shooting inside the Walmart. We don't have any details. We don't know who or how many people were affected, and we don't know if anyone has been taken into custody. But obviously, you can imagine the interest on both social media and then in the area about this, because this is a well-frequented area, a highly trafficked area, and we are expecting to hear from deputies about how many people were inside the Walmart at the time. Of course, if we learn any more details, we'll let you know. I hear a helicopter above. It could be a news helicopter, or it could be a helicopter belonging to the sheriff's office. Again, we don't know what this investigation exactly entails right now, but that's why we're on scene and we're trying to get you answers. As soon as we know anything else, we'll bring you the latest on air and online on clickorlando.com. But again, Troy, the headline here, there was a shooting inside the Walmart. The Osceola County Sheriff's Office has responded, and they say this is an active investigation.
All right, News 6's Mike Valenti, and we know you'll keep us updated. And we have more breaking news tonight, this time in the Villages, where people in a 1.5 mile radius of a golf course were told to shelter in place for orders, but that was just lifted moments ago. Now, here's a picture of that emergency alert sent out across social media tonight from Sumter County EMS. They were called out to reports of a chlorine leak at about 7 tonight. Now, they quickly got on scene at the Turtle Mound Golf Course. That's along the 2600 block of Turtle Mound Path in the Villages. Anyone who lives within a 1.5 miles of that course was being told to stay indoors at the time. Now, they say that leak began at a maintenance shed on the golf course. And as of now, no injuries have been reported. Now, we are also monitoring breaking news, a traffic situation on I-4. This is happening in Polk County, but it's impacting the attractions area. So let's take a live look at our Department of Transportation camera that's closest to I-4 between Champions Gate and Haines City. That's where a depression opened up, blocking westbound I-4 from exits 55 to 58. For a while, people were being told to detour off exit 58. That is the Champions Gate exit, but at least one lane is now getting by. Still, you may see backups in that area. And another big story now at 10. A child is dead, and deputies say they've arrested a man who witnesses say harmed the girl. Now, I just came back from that scene in Citrus. It was very chilling. We saw children's toys across the yard, crime scene tape. Law enforcement are on the house. Fire Rescue says they were called out to the home on Northeast 44th Avenue at around noon. They said the girl was found unresponsive and died at the hospital.
It does affect us, and we're dedicated to bringing some closure and getting justice for this little girl.
Zach Moore with the Marion County Sheriff's Office says they've identified the man they think is responsible for the death of a young girl near this trailer. along Northeast 44th Avenue in Citra. He says at about noon on Thursday, Marion Fire Rescue transported the girl to the hospital where she was pronounced dead.
Our hearts are broken for those affected, for our victims' loved ones. And we're just ultimately doing everything we can to get to the bottom of this and hopefully bring them some closure.
The Marion County Sheriff's Office says once deputies arrived to the home, witnesses inside quickly identified a man on scene as the person responsible for harming the child.
Of course, people are going to wonder what the relationship with the man who in custody, what the relationship the man in custody has with the child who has died.
Right. So at this point, we're not releasing any identifying information, relationship information for our victim or our suspect, just to protect the integrity of this investigation.
Deputies say the man was taken into custody for questioning as a suspect in the girl's death.
How about those investigators, those first responders showing up to a home where you have a family who has just lost a young child, and then they have to be there for them and conduct their investigation? It has to be a very trying time.
Absolutely. So it's always heartbreaking to all of our deputies, everyone at the Marion County Sheriff's Office, when we have a loss of life.
Law enforcement could be seen into the evening, still surrounding the home as many questions remain.
With every single victim we have, no matter the crime, we are always passionate and diligent about seeking justice. With that being said, it is in some cases extra heartbreaking whenever it's a young child who is innocent, a victim of a heinous crime, and completely helpless.
And another big story right now, NASA teams are putting a plan on hold as they count down to a simulated launch of one of the most powerful rockets to ever fly, the SLS Mega Moon rocket. Now, this is a live look at the launch pad, 39B right now. It is the second wet dress rehearsal for NASA's Artemis II moon mission. Now, once again, crews will fill this massive SLS rocket with more than 700,000 gallons of fuel, and then they're going to do a practice launch countdown. This has to be successful before astronauts launch to the moon and back. And since News 6 at 6, the closeout crew at the pad closed the hatch to the launch abort system. That critical safety feature would protect astronauts during a launch mishap. Just before 7, the launch team finished up all their work and exited the pad altogether. And just before countdown could feasibly start at 8:30, the launch director halted it so the SLS could cool down slightly. Now, this second wet dress rehearsal was needed after too much hydrogen leaked from systems used to fuel the SLS during the first wet dress on January 31st. Now, tonight, crews tested out a new seals aimed at minimizing those leaks. Now, hydrogen is used to fuel those rockets, so it's naturally extremely flammable. Hydrogen is also a difficult substance to deal with.
It's the number one element on the periodic table. It leaks through seals and gaskets very easily, and they're really having to wrestle with that. It's a tough problem.
Now, Harwood also says it's the number one element on the periodic table, so it leaks through seals and gaskets very easily, and they're really trying to wrestle with it. Now, CBS expert Bill.
They've replaced those seals, and I think they're hopeful that they're going to get through this test the second time around, clear the way for launch.
All right. So as one of the big reasons why is Artemis 1 had 7 wet dress rehearsals. With Artemis 2 carrying astronauts, the stakes now, they are even higher. And again, this is a planned hold during this wet dress rehearsal. Of course, we're going to keep watching that. You see that live right there. We're going to have it on clickorlando.com. And of course, we'll keep you updated at 11. And this work is supposed to wrap up at around 12:30 a.m. And of course, we'll keep an eye on it.
Ignition and liftoff. Go Starlink, go Falcon.
And at the same time, NASA was counting down for practice. SpaceX launched for real, sending up more Starlink internet satellites from the Cape around 8:41 tonight. The first stage landed on a barge at sea 8 minutes later. Well, that's not unusual. The landing location was. For only the second time, the ship was in the Bahamas for the recovery. And all of this comes hours after NASA's new administrator blasted Boeing and NASA itself over the Starliner mishap that left astronauts stuck in space. We'll have a little more on that a little later in the newscast. And new at 10, a setback in court for a St. Cloud man who admits to slashing an off-duty Orange County deputy, but it happened during a road rage confrontation, so he claimed he acted in self-defense, calling this a stand your ground case. But a judge disagreed. News 6's Alex Cook was in the Osceola courthouse in Kissimmee.
Daniel Sakowicz did not deny pulling out that knife. He didn't even deny cutting the off-duty deputy. But he told the judge that he was the one who felt threatened and acted out of fear to protect himself and his wife.
When I step out, I see him still approaching, and so I raise my hand to hope that he sees the knife and is dissuaded from a physical confrontation.
Both Sakowicz and the other driver, Jamal Morris, stood and demonstrated for the judge how the knife was held during the confrontation. Sakowicz says he and Morris yelled at each other on the road, but then Morris followed him to his destination and waited for him behind his car. This is where that moment of road rage turned into something far more dangerous. Investigators say Daniel Sakowicz got out of his Tesla here holding a knife. He charged that other driver and slashed him in the shoulder. That's when the other driver pulled out his gun and revealed himself to be an off-duty Orange County Sheriff's deputy. Sakowicz was arrested and charged with aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. He says he spotted a gun holster on that off-duty deputy's waist and his Marine training kicked in. He says he tried to take the man down, and cutting his shoulder was just an accident.
I brought the knife up and around like this, and almost like a stabbing motion, but it wasn't with the intent to stab him. It was to wrap him up.
The reason he grabbed this knife was to prevent this individual from trying to attack him, his wife.
In the end, the judge was unmoved.
When you brandish a weapon at someone, the way you're deterring them is telling them, I'm about to do death or great bodily harm to you. And he had no legal justification, no objective person would feel that that was necessary under the circumstances.
The stand your ground defense denied. Sakowicz now goes to trial next week for aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. In Kissimmee, Alex Cook, News 6.
Volusia County is known as the shark bite capital of the world. Well, tonight, the International Shark Attack File is out with its 2025 report. And what the data is saying about bites here in Florida might surprise you.
The state of Florida once again leading the nation in shark bites. That's according to a newly released report from the International Shark Attack File. It looks at incidents from 2025. Researchers counted 11 bites last year. And while it's more than any other U.S. state, it's lower than the state's most recent 5-year annual average of 18 bites. 6 people were bitten right here in Volusia County last year.
What we see is in areas of murky water. So let's talk about, Volusia County, Ponce Inlet, right? It's really active, murky water.
Yeah.
Those sharks are in the surf zone going for bait fish. And, any kind of movement means that's potentially a meal.
And then all of a sudden, I just feel like something clamp on the foot and just yank me off, almost like a cartoon.
Last year, News 6's Jana Manohalal sat down with 18-year-old Sam Hollis. He was bitten in June while giving surf lessons near Ponce Inlet, which left his foot badly injured.
I've been, surfing at the inlet where that's where most of the bites happen. I've been there before and I've been bumped, I've been grazed, but nothing even comes close to what this felt like.
Globally, ISAF confirmed 65 unprovoked bites, which is slightly higher than average. About a dozen of those bites were fatal, including one in the U.S. Experts say the risk of being bitten by a shark remains extremely low.
If anything, humans have a much more negative impact on sharks than sharks have on us.
You can reduce your risk by always staying with a buddy, staying close to shore, and away from fishermen. And don't wear any shiny jewelry because a shark might mistake you for a fish.
Now, last year, the U.S. Senate passed Lulu's Law. The bill requires the FCC to issue an emergency alert to mobile phones in the event of a shark attack, similar to an Amber Alert or a weather warning. It's named after Lulu Gribben, an Alabama teen who lost a large part of her leg and her left hand after being bitten by a shark. Gribben says there was another shark attack 90 minutes before, and if she had been warned, it could have prevented her attack.
And tonight, Volusia is the latest local county to add a county-wide burn ban. And it comes after small brush fires today broke out in Flagler Beach, the Ocala National Forest, and DeLand. Meteorologist Jonathan Kagas, new drought numbers are just in.
Yeah, they're obviously not good. It got worse even with the rain we got on Sunday. We're also tracking some fog out there. Going to get thick again by your morning commute. We're going to pinpoint all of that in a few minutes.
And also ahead in just minutes, this time last night, I reported there from the scene, a smelly situation, a fish kill in Lake Apopka. Tonight, FWC says they know why this happened. But first, new details in one of the big stories of the week. A teen's neck slashed by a stranger. We're told police confronted that suspect twice before that night. Now the boy's mother is asking if they did enough to keep us safe. You're watching News 6 at 10 live on a Thursday night, covering the Villages, Thornton Park, and all of Central Florida.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Central Florida Honda Dealers.
And now at 10, an update to a story News 6 first broke this week. A 13-year-old boy's neck slashed by a stranger at the Daytona Beach boardwalk. Well, today a judge ruled that the suspect, seen here, Jermaine Long, must stay in jail. Yesterday, we discovered police had confronted him hours before the slashing, accusing him of hitting a guy with a sledgehammer. Now the teen's mom wonders if police could have prevented this attack. Here's your Volusia community correspondent, Molly Reed.
The teen's family is now pushing for officers to take some accountability in this case, too. We first talked to them immediately after the slashing here over the weekend and again today, too, where they're demanding answers.
I don't understand how all these violent offenses can happen in one day and he is free to come after our child.
Lori Clark's 13-year-old son was attacked on Saturday while the family walked the boardwalk.
This behavior was not unpredictable.
Daytona Beach police tell us they are conducting an internal review of how this was handled. I asked them Wednesday about it.
It's being looked at.
I first told you Wednesday that I found officers had 3 run-ins with him that day. First, he was trespassed from a property. Then, after being accused of hitting a man with a sledgehammer, police trespassed him again, but didn't arrest him. Finally, they arrested him, charging him with slashing the 13-year-old's throat that night. Charges for the sledgehammer attack came 2 days later. In a statement sent today, police say at the time of the sledgehammer incident, the victim didn't fully cooperate and there wasn't enough evidence to press charges. Their report from that day, though, shows the victim was interviewed and Long was found with a sledgehammer. Police say after looking at it again, they found enough to press charges. Police tell us they will not be releasing any more details now until their review is complete. Jermaine Long is pleading not guilty to any of the acts of violence Saturday. I'm your Volusia County community correspondent Molly Reed, News 6.
And tonight, new fallout over the Starliner mishap that left 2 astronauts stuck in space for nearly a year. NASA's new administrator is slamming both Starliner's maker, Boeing, and NASA itself. Now, when they launched back in 2024, Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams only planned to be in space for about 2 weeks. They landed 9 months later. Starliner went back to Earth uncrewed after numerous system problems. Now tonight, NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman posted this letter on X, blasting NASA's decision-making and leadership, saying, quote, if left unchecked, it could create culture incompatible with human spaceflight. Federal investigators also blame NASA and Boeing, noting bad data and incomplete data from the first 2 Starliner test flights, and blame NASA for accepting that data.
I do think that failure to acknowledge this as it was, which is a Type A mishap, and ensure that we are transparent and correct, management leadership missteps that could lead to an unhealthy culture is absolutely warranted. Failing to do so invites repeats of previous catastrophic events, which again is never an acceptable outcome here at NASA.
Now, that NASA investigative report gives 61 formal recommendations, and all of these must be implemented before the Starliner can fly again to the space station. Administrator Isaacman agreed. We put that full 311-page report up on clickorlando.com. We're finally getting some answers about a smelly situation in West Orange County. Now, I got to see it firsthand and smell it this time last night. A viewer told us that dead fish were washing up at Newton Park in Lake Apopka and Winter Garden. Now, FWC got back to us this morning confirming the fish kill and that the dead fish, those are tilapia, and those are considered an invasive fish here in Florida.
As we walked towards the dock, the pier here, we saw dead fish. And then as we walked along the edge here, where a lot of the birds nest, we saw so many of the fish had washed in and got caught up against the vegetation. They just died here. And none of the animals that we can observe are feeding on them. And there are ospreys here, there's eagles here, there's alligators here. And apparently they don't want to eat these dead fish, so who knows?
And that alligator was floating around when we got out there. FWC says the kill is due to the recent cold weather. They also say it's not a one-off. This month alone, the state says they've gotten over 450 reports of fish kills that investigators believe is because of the cold temperatures. Now we have meteorologist Jonathan Kagas. We have had cold in the past, but it looks like we do have a good warm weekend to look forward to.
At least for the first half of it. Then we have more cold coming as we get into the early part of next work week. That cold front itself passes by on Sunday. We also have some fog developing off the Gulf tonight, and that's going to push back in to inland central Florida. As you wake up tomorrow morning commute again could have some pretty thick fog around there. 6 o'clock. That white represents the footprint of the most thick fog. You see it right there. Visibility is hanging around 0 miles tomorrow morning. There's 7 to 8 o'clock. Still dealing with a little bit of it. By 9 to 10, like this morning, we will see that fog lift rather quickly. Satellite and radar showing us a nice clean sweep out there. Just a few passing clouds right now. Again, I'm expecting that fog to come in back overnight. Here is a live look, a nice quiet night in downtown Orlando with our Light Orlando delivering Hope Skycam. Air temperatures back in the low 70s. The breeze out of the west at about 10 miles an hour tonight. We're at 71 in Mount Dora, 68 degrees in the Villages. Now, tomorrow morning, we're waking up in the low to mid 60s. A much warmer start than where we've been, even a couple of notches warmer than where we were this morning. That puts us about 10 degrees above normal. That warmth continues into tomorrow. We're in record territory tomorrow afternoon. I do think we miss records by about a degree or two. I think we'll have a better shot to break some records Saturday afternoon as we get back into the upper 80s. Saturday also, the Orlando City home opener. Air temperatures by game time around in the upper 70s still. 7 o'clock right before the match starts. We're in the upper 70s, 75 by 8. It will be a nice, mild evening. It will be a clear evening as well. Talk about some weather whiplash, though, coming down the pipeline. Record temperatures possible on Saturday with temperatures into the upper 80s. Look at this. By the time you wake up on Tuesday, most of us are going to be into the 30s, some of us even closing in on the freezing mark again northwest of I-4. And it's because of this right here. Big cold front comes through early Sunday morning, gives us the opportunity for a little bit of rain. It is not much. It is certainly going to be less than what we had last Sunday at that time. And even then, it did not help the drought situation any. Wait for that. You see the arrows there. That's that colder, drier air. And again, with the air being so dry, that is going to increase the brush fire risk Sunday before the front and then certainly after the front as well. So watching that closely. Mentioned before that rain didn't help, and it didn't help so much that we actually had it get worse. That extreme drought category, that red shaded area forced itself further to the south now. So all of Flagler, Olive Marion, and the northern half of Volusia County. In the southeast corner of Brevard, forecasts are kind of covering it. But for us in Micco, we are now considered to be in an extreme drought as well. So we need some rain big time. There's a 40% shot for it on Sunday, but I think largely a tenth of an inch or less. In extreme cases, maybe getting up to a quarter of an inch. There are our cold mornings, 40s on Monday, 30s on Tuesday. We do get back to around 80 degrees on Thursday.
Your forecast is sponsored by Strata Service.
While it may be a construction site now, soon this building will be filled with people getting help with identification services. I'm Stephanie Rodriguez reporting in Orlando. iDignity helps people through the identification process who can't do it alone, and their expansion comes at a time when IDs are becoming even more important.
They've done so much with the little resources they have for years and years and years.
Congressman Maxwell Frost secured $750,000 for iDignity's new Orlando headquarters. The nonprofit helps people obtain important documents like Social Security cards and birth certificates for free so they can get an ID.
You can't really do anything without having government certified identification today. You can't get a job, and if you can't get a job, then you can't support yourself, then you can't support your family.
Orange County committed over $2 million to the construction to give iDignity a home after 18 years and 36,000 people served. But demand is expected to increase as the feds consider changes to voting, and state leaders in Tallahassee are advancing several bills to change what ID can be used for elections, putting more emphasis on things like passports.
It makes it so not even your driver's license will be able to be used to be able to register to vote. We shouldn't be making it harder to vote. We should actually be making it easier for Americans to cast their ballot and participate in this democracy.
For those at the center, its mission is even more important in a state where 1 in 5 residents was born outside the U.S. and more than 750,000 residents do not have a driver's license.
We need to maintain the integrity of identification at all costs. But there does need to be an organization like iDignity that will assist those individuals in our community that cannot get over those barriers on their own. That's why we exist.
In Orlando, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
All right, that's it for us here at 10. We'll be back at 11, of course, and get more updates on our forecast and our breaking news that we have. Stay tuned.